Hey, Tyler. Good morning. Welcome to the Born or Made podcast. And I mean morning. I'm talking morning for you.
Yes. Yep. 5:15. Yeah. Thanks
Yeah.
for having
So,
me on, man.
so I always like to start kind of like, so where am I talking to you from today?
Right now I'm in Thailand, in Phuket. It's kind of like a beach area. So I just
Yeah. Oh,
got
yeah.
here like a week ago.
Yeah. My parents would come from Singapore, and that was either Bali or Phuket was kind of the place they liked to go. They loved that place.
Mm.
Apparently, it's beautiful. I've never been there.
It is pretty awesome. Yeah, we just did this thing where it was like elephants on the beach. So all the I loved it. All the girls I was with though, I think I don't know, something with elephant. They love elephants. So we've seen elephants like 3 or 4 times now since we've been in Thailand. So that's been fun.
So, are they wild or are people like walking them? I mean, are they kind of like,
These ones people were walking them. It was like this little private beach,
yeah.
and it was I think the purpose. This is what I told them and told my friends is I felt like I was in Instagram, but in real life. You know, like what I mean? Like I literally felt like I was in an Instagram picture, but I still enjoyed it nonetheless. It was fun.
Oh, that's awesome. That's cool. Yeah, you're the first one I've talked to in a while that's brought up elephants, by the way. So that
All right.
you get the win for that one. That's awesome. So I like to kind of start off also. It's just like, so where were you born at? Kind of raised, kind of get me through high school. Always intrigued by kind of where everything starts for you.
Yeah, for sure. So I was born in Pennsylvania. I think it was Abington Hospital, but I grew up like Doylestown, Pennsylvania. It's like an hour north of Philadelphia. And went to Central Bucks High School West. I think it was actually kind of a big high school. It had 3 grades, and I think total was about 1,000 people per grade. So it was, 3,000 kids in the school. And yeah, so that was kind of my younger years. And then from 18, I started to move to warmer climates. I realized at a very young age, basically, like I forget what they call it, like with weather, your weather depression or something
Oh
like that.
yeah,
It's a
you
little
do.
early for me, so I'm trying to get these moving, but you know what I mean. So like half of the year in Pennsylvania, I was the most outgoing kid ever, and like every day I would be out with friends, and then the other half I would be like, dude, if you want to see me, I'm in this house. I'm not going out there. Like this sucks. So either way, I basically moved like South Carolina, San Diego, then Miami, and then I started to go international and stuff.
So when you were kind of getting out of high school, you kind of bound for a college career. I mean, I hear like I was going to be a vet to a dentist to, I've heard everything under the sun. I mean, were you kind of going in that direction, or what were your thoughts?
Yeah, so South Carolina was actually where I went to college. It was Columbia, South Carolina. So they're like the Gamecocks. And I went there for 2 years and I enjoyed it. But I think the reason I went is because, and I guess this is similar for most kids, is like, when you don't know what to do, that's kind of where you figure it
Yeah.
out. Um, and when I went there, what was good for me is I figured out that where this college degree was going to take me, I didn't want to go there. Right. So it was kind of like this experience of just realizing that this path for me wasn't right. And actually, how it happened is in college, a friend of mine recommended a book called The 4 Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss. Every entrepreneur, I shouldn't say every, but a
Yep.
lot of people know of that book. And I can't remember what exactly it was about that book, but after reading it, I literally made the decision to drop out and like start my own thing within like weeks after. Like it was very quick. I read it and was like, I can do this on my own. And then I left like a few weeks after.
Where were you going to get a degree in? I mean, kind of where were you going? I mean,
Yes, my dad's an accountant, so
okay.
and I had Googled like what is the highest paid salary like position typically out of college, and accounting was I think it was actually number one, although that's probably not accurate. It was up there. So that's what I was thinking. But that would have been terrible for me because I am like extrovert to the extreme. Like this is what I love doing.
Yeah.
Um, but being by myself in a room, calculating numbers, that would be absolute misery for me every day. So I'm glad I didn't do that.
Were you good at math though? I mean, you think you could have done it? I mean, yeah.
I would say, I mean, if I were to look at, yes, up until a point, like I was always, I remember younger, I think it was like fourth, fifth grade, they would do like the flashcards, just like
Yeah.
times tables. And
Yeah.
I would always win. Like I literally just like very quick with it. Now that's like simple math, obviously, but like for some reason, I just maybe memorized it or it was just very easy for me to just get it really fast. But then once it got to like calculus and statistics, that's where no, that was like learning Chinese to me or something. That stuff doesn't add up in my head. So up until a point, yes.
Yeah, for me, I mean, when I think about what people can do with like calculus and trigonometry and heck, even geometry, I mean, your brain is so, I mean, think about the wiring of every one of us and how that is, think that's easy for them. For someone like me, I can't even comprehend that.
No, me either. Like I almost don't want to comprehend it. Like it
Yeah,
hurts so bad.
that's,
I don't even
it's,
want to know. I'm like, it's good that there's people like you out in the world, not you, but in
yeah, I
general
know.
that
Yeah.
yeah, like some people like it. And I'm like, okay, we're just so far off. Like liking that is I don't know, but okay. Now, and then the flip flop though is like some people, like for me, I used to do 10, like literally they were shorter, but like 10, 20 podcasts a day. And I loved it. Like I absolutely loved every second of that. And for those types of people, maybe more introverted, they would hate that day. Right. So it is interesting how, we're all similar in some ways, but very different sometimes too.
So you read this amazing book, which we've all heard of, and the light clicks on. So do you have a plan? Like, I'm going to go do this. You're like, I just know I'm not doing this.
Kind of both. I would say the plan was a little rough, but I did have a plan, and it kind of actually worked out as I saw it. Obviously, not perfectly. I think every business and idea, right, is has a plan, but I don't think it ever goes exactly as you
Never.
expected. But basically, my idea was that I was going to all these conferences. Basically, once I dropped out, I started going to all these conferences and I was just reading tons of books. That was my way of like substituting the learning I would have had in college. And what I noticed is at all these conferences, almost all the speakers were authors or best-selling authors, and it just kind of clicked for me. I was like, okay, well, the idea of getting paid to speak and travel the world for free, essentially, that sounds pretty cool. So I decided to write a book. It's called Conference Crushing, and I did a ton of research on book marketing. And basically, my first book came out. I forget total number of sales, but it was in the lower tens of thousands, and it hit bestseller. And that's when my life really changed. Is my plan of becoming a paid public speaker worked. Like I got my first gig. It was like an hour keynote for $3,000, and at the time, that was life changing because my rent was only like $400 a month. So I was like, oh my God, I'm good for the next like 6 to 8 months. Like I don't have to do anything. Like I'm
So
set.
how old are you at this
Um,
point though?
I was
I mean,
like, I think I was like 20. I think I started writing the book in my like late 19, and then 20 is when it came out. I think it was around there,
wow.
19 to
Okay.
21 area.
So you were
Um,
young. I mean, like not young by standards. You were young, period. Like,
yeah, Yeah, I was. And it was those conferences that really changed everything for me because I was just, I don't know, it was like more of an entrepreneurial community. And I was seeing what they were doing. And then I ended up moving actually into they called it an entrepreneur house. It was me and six other guys. and the guy who owned the house, he was already like successful, and then the other six of us, we were all like just starting. So we like were accountability partners and stuff. Like environment matters a lot, especially I think in the early stages, because when you're starting a business, you're like kind of all on your own, and
Absolutely.
you're yeah, and I think if I was at my and nothing against, like, I love my parents. They did it, we're like best friends. They did everything for me. But I think like if I was trying to start the business at my parents' house without without the other six guys holding me accountable through those early stages, I don't think I'd be where I'm at, right? Because those early stages are so difficult because it's like you do so much work up front with like very minimal financial return, and you
Right.
really don't know, like you just don't know if it's going to work. Like you think it might, and then you're scared, like what if I have to go back to college and then I'll be older than everybody in the grade, like all these doubt. I don't know. Now it seems funny to me, but at the time it was like a very serious thought of like, oh, I'll be the old guy in college. Like that'll suck.
Yeah.
Like I don't know.
Well, it doesn't mean crap to a guy that's 60 that's talking to you right now, because I'm really old. You're like, I'm going to be
Oh, I know. Like,
22. Yeah, yeah,
oh, I know.
yeah.
Now I think about it, I'm like, what a very minor problem to
But
have,
it's
if a problem at all.
yeah, it's your reality. So you caught me with something. So you just said, "Oh, I'm just going to conferences." So what do you mean you're just going to conferences? Like you going to the car wash conference and the,
Uh,
laundry? I mean, what kind of conferences are you going to? Like,
yeah. Well, basically, how it started, I did kind of skip over this, but
yeah, that's
this is a
okay.
good part of the story. Is how it started is after I read the 4 Hour Work Week, I was getting retargeted with advertisements from Tim Ferriss, right? With like retargeting ads. And there was one that wasn't from him, but it was a conference that was basically using his face because he was the keynote speaker. And I clicked on it, and the conference was called Mastermind Talks. Jason Gaynard, he runs it, and he's been doing it now for like, I guess, 12, 13 years. I mean, since I was like 20 years old. And I basically reached out to him. The conference, I think it was like $10,000, which I couldn't afford at the time. I mean, I was like 80 grand in college debt. So I reached out to him and was just honest. I reached out and was like, look, man, here's my situation. I'm an aspiring entrepreneur. If there's anything I want to come to your event, but I don't have the money. If there's anything I can do to help you that would be of value enough to allow me to come for free, let me know. And dude, this was my first time trying this. And literally, if I remember correctly, I think he reached back out like hours later, and we got on Skype together and did a video call on Skype like the same or the next day. Like it was fast. And then when we just clicked, like we became friends. And then, it was about 6 months later, I'm at the event and I'm backstage with Tim Ferriss. It was just crazy.
Like
And
that's like crazy.
yeah, I couldn't believe how it worked out. And then once I went to that event, I think a lot of people in the entrepreneurial community, because it is lonely, it's those more types, I think, go to more events. Not that corporate people don't go to events. They probably go to more in general, but you know what I mean? Just
I know exactly.
yeah, their way, it's their way of connecting with like a community. So I started getting recommended to all these other events, and basically I would use that same strategy until I had enough money to just pay for the ticket. But essentially I ended up becoming like the helper at all of these like really sick events. I don't know if you know like Ryan Holiday, I forget who. There was just at this event, Mastermind Talks, there was so many like heavy hitters, and I just was like a sponge and just was learning from all of them, like kind of behind the scenes. And it changed everything for me. So either way, that was like my first event. And then from there, I probably went to like a few hundred events after that. Like that was my schedule, was like every other week I was flying somewhere to go to an event, and I was like the helper at the event.
That is so cool. So wow. Okay. I'm impressed. I was like, wow. So you just sent out an email and he actually responded, because
I
he's probably gets a lot of crappy emails. Oh man, can you give me a, but you're like, hey, I'm willing to work for free. I just want to be at the event. And that took some, initiative really. So he probably, and what's probably crazy is he was probably you at some point in his life. I bet you.
For sure. I agree. No, I think
Yeah.
because I ended up actually living up in Canada for like 6 months and interning with him. So I got to learn a lot about him. And I think you're exactly right. And I think I also, timing also, I think was important in this, and that this was actually his first mastermind talks, which I didn't know at the time. So like it was his first one. He actually could use the help that I was offering. And now I think he's done like 10 or 20 of them or whatever. But at the, you know what I mean? Like if I had caught him at like the 10th event, he maybe would have disregarded it, right? But
Well,
it was
you
just
know what,
perfect
Tyler?
time.
Because it's a great thing to think about too. He was probably freaking nervous and overwhelmed, just like you and I would have been, right? And so
Yeah, I
you
think
you caught him at the right time with the right help. So, you've heard timing is everything. You just punctuated that one for us all.
yeah.
So
No, you're definitely
so the other thing too is intriguing. I've never heard of this was so you're living in an entrepreneur house, which is what a great idea because you said two things. Entrepreneur house, you were around six entrepreneurs and that entrepreneurs have a lonely life. And that's something I write about in my book. And
mm,
it's true. And what a great concept. Like you could
yeah,
feed off of
is.
the all of the negatives, like when you wake up in the morning, right? And you go, man, I suck. I don't know why I'm thinking. And then you got another guy, man, we can do this. I know you can. What a great idea.
It is so essential. Like, I mean, I could talk for hours about it, but I'll give the shortened version of like, I even think sometimes, even with where I'm at now, it's like I would still see value in it. Like, even if you're like, I don't like 100 million, like whatever, as successful as you could be, if you're in that environment, you're still going to grow for, it's just that environment is so amazing. But I think it is even more important in the earlier stages just because it's such a shift from your entire childhood too. Like the reason you're getting up, right, is to go to school. Like there's always somebody that like if you don't do the thing, then you get in trouble. So it's like kind of your first time when you drop out of college or even if you graduate and you start your own business, you're the only person holding you accountable. But really you can wake up at 1 p.m. if you want, there's nothing
That's right.
actually holding you there. And we got these are some things from the 4 hour work week actually that we did in that entrepreneur house. One was called like having steaks. And what I mean by that, not like the food, but like steaks in the sense of we would all of us had like a shared Google Excel doc, and we would put our goals for the week. And then if at the end of the week we did not honor or like complete our own goals, then we had like something up for stakes. So meaning like we would have to pay everybody in the house $100, or we'd have to do the dishes for everybody, or do everybody's laundry, like something we didn't want to do, or like donate to the. There was one time my buddy, where basically he said, we not to get into politics, but
No,
we're
it's fine.
mostly Republicans in the
Yeah.
house, so whatever. But regardless, his thing was like, if I don't do all these things, I will donate $100 to the opposing political party. So just like kind of funny things like that. But you'd be maybe surprised or not surprised, like when you have stakes like that, and you also have six other guys, and this could work for girls too, I'm sure. Just like you don't want to let yourself down, but I think it's easier for people to let themselves down, but you letting six other people down, it's almost like embarrassing, right? In that house, if I said I'm going to write, 10 chapters of my book this week, or probably that's probably a lot, but more like 5 chapters. And then at the end of the week, when we all came together on Sunday and discussed how our goals went, if I had to openly admit that I failed, it was like an embarrassment kind of. So I really don't recall ever missing a goal. Like I don't, because like that, and it wasn't. I didn't care about if I failed in a sense. It was more I didn't want to admit to them that I had failed. And that external source, I guess, drove me a lot further than I could have by myself. So I
Yep.
think it's, yeah.
I think that's interesting. I'm surprised that more people, I mean, is that because you're the first person I've ever heard about this, entrepreneur house. I mean, is that a thing? Or did you just happen to get lucky and a few people do it? Because I've never heard that before.
I think at the time it was kind of new. Like I hadn't heard about it before either, obviously at that time. Now I actually know a guy who I think his business is it's called like co-living, and he actually like orchestrates these houses for people. So you like sign up and like you put in the areas that you would be willing to live at and like budget and stuff. And then he'll like connect you with other entrepreneurs and create a co-living entrepreneur house for you. So it is becoming more of a thing now, but I don't think it's like mainstream by any means, you know?
Yeah, because old school is kind of like what I do. Um, is most of my friends now are business owners. But it
Mm.
takes time in a market. Plus, you're working all the time. You're trying to build a business, build a brand. And then later, as I've gotten farther in life now, the guys that I run around with are all business owners. So we're kind of at the other end of the cycle. But I just can't imagine having that opportunity. I mean, it's just a great idea. And I'm very jealous
Yeah.
because I'm like, and not literally, but I'm like, what? Just like that is so cool because it's all these people I interview and talk to, we talk about how lonely it is and you're by yourself and your mental breakdowns of the days that you don't think you're capable or weeks, right? We all have them, but to be able to have that and then you have an accountability partner on top of it. I mean,
Yeah. The accountability is huge. And yeah, I think the ups and downs are definitely they're more than you imagine when you start the venture. Like in the beginning, before you actually like really start, everything I think looks, at least this is how I remember it, everything looks so like shiny object. It's just like everything is possible. I can start any business I want and I will be successful. Like I can do it. And then you realize like something that you could spend months on could completely fail, right? But it's I think it's just being okay with the failure. And the more you go through it, like just one small thing I'll say,
yeah,
because
please.
I'm just remembering things like when I was in college, and this was also super helpful for me. I ran this, it was called Student Painters. It was like a basically a franchise or like it was a chance basically for you to run your own business for the
Yeah.
first time. Oh, okay, you know of it
Yeah, I know
maybe. So
exactly. Yeah, I've heard of it. Yeah.
oh, okay. So that was like my, I would say, initiation into entrepreneurship. And for me, it was super helpful because a lot of it, like the way you sell people to paint their house, most of it was like door-to-door sales. And I was doing this in Columbia, South Carolina in the summertime. So it's like 100 degrees, humidity, like, and I went knocked on thousands of doors. I got chased out of people's yards. This everything, like I had gotten my fill of rejection. So like by the time I got to the point of like online business where it's just like Zoom calls and phone calls, I don't give a crap if somebody says no to me. You know what I mean? I'm
Because
like,
it's
dude,
so
I've already,
easy.
yeah, it's so easy at that point. So
Yeah.
like if I could recommend anything to somebody that wants to run their own business, like if you start out with like door-to-door sales or something like that, everything after that is dramatically easier. So I'm grateful that I did that and it ended up working out pretty good.
My buddy of mine does that. He owns a ADT franchise in Virginia. And I'm like, I don't know how you do it. And he goes, oh, you get used to it. And so for him, he can go anywhere, talk to anybody. Cause I mean, he was in somebody's house and the husband walks in and thinks the guy's cheating with his wife. He pulls a
Oh,
freaking gun on the guy. He goes, man, when you do that, you can go anywhere. I mean,
dude.
he's like,
Yeah.
I'm going to die.
No, I actually there was a few scenarios where weapons were taken out literally because in South Carolina, I don't know if it's still like this, but at the time, like I think this was the law, like trespassing, you can shoot the person right? And like there's nothing bad happens to you. Like in South Carolina, if you like if they think you're breaking and entering or trespassing and they shoot you, there nothing bad happens.
It's
So
called
I
the
had
castle.
multiple
It's called the
scenarios.
castle law. I don't know if it's still there, but where I used
Okay.
to live, it was, and yeah, if some guy's in your front yard breaking in your window of your car, you could just walk up and shoot them. And they're like, hey, thanks, no trial. Have a good day. Sorry, your glass got broke. You probably should call your insurance company. I mean, I mean, it's literally like that.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know if it still is, but I know in my mind, I remember them where like there was a few times where I knocked on the door and they came and they had a gun in their hands. Like it was never like,
Yeah.
chasing me out and pointing, but like, they made it known like, yo, no. And I was like, dude, I'm just here to let you know that like some of your paint's breaking up there and we can fix it if you
I'm
want.
just a college
Don't shoot
student.
me.
I'm just trying to make a buck.
Um, yeah.
That's
But
funny.
so that added a fun element to it for
So
sure.
you go on this, so you did your conference tour and all this kind of stuff. So you're starting to evolve. You're starting to go to all these events. So kind of where do you go from there? You had some business ideas. What was your first kind of business idea?
Yeah, so what ended up happening is I did maybe like a dozen or so speaking gigs. So that was doing pretty good, but what I found out is, and I'm sure I could figure this out within myself, but like I was actually very nervous on stages in like front of hundreds of people. I just didn't like it as much as I thought I would. The traveling and hotel and all that was fun, but the actual doing of the speech, I didn't love it. I'm more comfortable in environments like this, as I
Hmm.
would imagine most people are,
Most
right?
people
It's
are, yeah.
it's more comfortable to sit in your house and do this rather than talk in front of 500 people at a conference. So, but either way, I think I made the right move regardless, is I kind of put that career to the side. Like I still very randomly will get reached out to speak, and sometimes I'll accept and sometimes I won't. But people really started asking me about the book stuff. So I literally would get like hundreds of Facebook messages asking me like, dude, like, and a lot of it started from my small hometown. They were like, dude, I had heard you dropped out of college and now I'm seeing you're a best-selling author. What the heck happened? And then it was like, my mom always wanted to write a book. Can you help us? So after it was probably actually was thousands of messages, literally, like now that I'm thinking about it, it was a lot. And I started to realize like, oh, there's a business here. Like this is something that a lot of people want to do. And for whatever reason, they never get around to doing it. Probably time, difficulty, many different reasons. So what I did is I helped a few friends do it for free in exchange for a video testimonial. And what I really centered on was how the bestseller lists work. So, because I realized in the marketplace is that there was a lot of publishers. So, people that help you write, edit, and publish the book, there's a ton of those. But as far as like marketing the book, they're really, even to this day, I only know like one like two other people that kind of do what we do. Like it's just so rare to find like a solid, like true book marketing firm. A lot of marketing firms, but like specified on books, it's just super rare. So regardless, I focused on that and I figured out how all the bestseller lists work. So Amazon, Barnes and Noble, USA Today, Wall Street, and New York Times, I basically mastered all of them. And New York Times, you can never really guarantee, but I do know like how it functions, and we've helped get a lot of people on it. The other four, we've literally done like thousands and have 100% like guarantee. It's essentially 100%. Like I think there's been out of the 4,000 plus book campaigns we've done, I think we've like missed like three times. So it's like super rare. Um, and then basically what I would do is I started off by coaching people through the process. And then I realized very quickly that coaching one-on-one has like a cap. Like I basically got to
Yeah.
like six figures with that. And then like I just was burnt out. People were calling and texting me at like 3 a.m. It was crazy. So then I shut that, or I didn't shut it down, but I pivoted to doing done for you and courses because those kind of have like a limitless scale potential. And either way, that's what I've been doing the last 13, 14 years. We have an 8-figure business now, and we've done over 4,000 books. And most of it, the courses do okay, but most of our revenue comes from like high ticket done for you. Like, as an example, we've done like 800 Wall Street Journal bestsellers. We charge 60K for that, and we literally guarantee it or a full refund. So just as like one of our services as an example, but that's kind of how everything evolved. And I think one last thing I'll add, just maybe it's helpful for the audience, is like, I think a lot of times it's not as much about the idea, but it's about like just becoming aware of what is around you and what, like, you can keep putting out content and then become aware of like what people are reacting to the most and then build off of that. And that's how it worked for me, is like, once I thought I was going to be like the next Tony Robbins or something like that, not that motivated, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then or at least not that I don't know, but you know what I'm trying to
Yeah, I know
say.
exactly. Yeah, not being Tony. Yeah.
I'm a motivated guy, but I
Yeah.
just think I'm not as loud.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying. Yeah, exactly.
And that's nothing bad. I think
No,
it's
I love him. I've seen him in person. Absolutely. Yeah.
But basically, like, but what happened is I just was like, I was listening to how people were responding to my stuff, and I just kind of accepted, like, oh, this book thing, like, I didn't write a book to help others, to help other people with their book. I did it for a speaking career, but it turned into that. And because I was open to the idea, that's how I ended up, having a successful business, right? Because if I would have stuck with just public speaking, probably would have done okay, but I don't think I would be where as far as I am today. I don't think.
And you don't have
So
to
that's
get
my
nervous and you don't have to get nervous
yeah, and
every
I don't
week.
have to be nervous.
Yeah, yeah.
Which-
Yeah, mine's kind of going down. It's kind of been my path, is I'm hoping to kind of pick up on, coaching, and I'd love to do, I always thought I wanted to do public speaking. Now that you've created fear in my back of my mind, I'm just kidding you. But yeah, it's like, I mean, I think that's what I want to do at some point, so it is interesting, but it's cool how you weren't afraid to pivot and figure out things. You understood. I interviewed a guy that wanted to be a broadcaster, and the first time in college, he was going to do, all he'd do was do the scores. No one's going to listen. He's a small college. I think it was in Pennsylvania, actually. And he froze, had a panic attack, never got in front of a mic for 20 years.
Oh my God.
Now he's in front of a mic and he talks like you and I are talking right now.
Yeah.
It just took that much out of him, And so anyway, and when he told me that, I was like, well, hopefully that's not me, because I'll be dead. Because
dude, panic attacks are I went through a phase where I had a ton of those, and those are not fun. Like, I literally called ambulance. Like, I went to the hospital like 5 or 6 times, thought I was dying. Like, those are crazy. So
do you think you were having a heart attack? Did you think?
Dude, well, I don't know what a heart attack feels like, but like, say that, like, that's what I think it feels like, and you legit think you're dying. Like, it's crazy. So
if it makes you feel any better, I have done that 3 times. Like, for sure.
Wow.
Like, panic attack, overwhelmed. I literally thought I'm going to die. And they're like, you come in like, yeah, he's having chest pains. 911, and they're like, code blue, they come in. I mean, you come in there telling me you have chest pains, like that. Even if you just need stitches, just tell them you have chest pains. You're going to the back. Yep. And I did that 3 different times in my life. Yeah.
Yeah. They're not fun, but whatever they give you at the hospital, I don't know what it's probably similar to like Xanax or something. I have no idea, but whatever they gave me, it calms you down. And so I literally would pay, I think I was paying like $1,000 hospital bill just for them to like give me the IV, whatever's in it, just so I can freaking relax. But it got to a point where like I literally started to realize, I was like, and I think this is for everybody that has them multiple times, is you start to realize like, okay, I'm okay. This is a panic attack. I'm not actually dying. And you kind of just like let it like run its course in a sense. And then it's okay. It's still not fun, but like, I think the panic thing comes from, you're basically panicking about panicking, and then it like gets worse and worse. But if if you can just recognize that it is what it is, then it passes a little easier. So
So did you
hopefully
ever
that's
have the deal, you said panicking, about panicking. Did you ever have the, when you'd wake up in the middle of the night after you'd done it several times and you start worrying about worrying? Because
oh
once you
yeah.
start worrying,
Yeah.
your brain just goes, "Whirr," and it just spins up and then and you can't go back to sleep.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, a lot. I mean, I don't know what this is necessarily, but like I just from like seeing other entrepreneurs, and I've heard Elon Musk talk about this. And just to be clear, I'm not saying I'm anywhere near as
No, trust
intelligent as
me. Yeah,
guy, but
he's our
um,
Einstein. Tyler,
yeah,
we are
yeah,
seeing our
yeah,
Albert Einstein.
yeah, I believe it.
Yeah.
I mean, everything this guy's doing, but he talks about how his mind is like a storm and like it's just always going. So I would say I feel like mine's similar. Again, not at the level of
Yeah.
his, but it's like my mind just never shuts off. And in my earlier, and I'm still, I mean, I'm only 32, but when I was younger, alcohol was my solution to that. And then, it gets to a point, I think, where you realize, okay, that's not a healthy solution. And actually, I still haven't found really an alternative. My alternative is I just work myself so hard in the day through like exercise and work that I literally drain the battery, I guess, and then I just fall over at night. So that's my
Yeah,
alternative.
that's me. I fall asleep. So I work out 7 days a week now. I have forever, but I got a little weird for a few years. Kind of got, I think I was depressed. I've never really known that, but, and I got back into that. So I feel better now. Have you ever done cold plunges?
Yeah, I have. Those are awesome. Yeah. I don't like doing them, but I like the after effect of it for
So
sure.
I started those about 3 months ago. I bought one of the cold plunges. I have a car barn where I keep all my cars, and I have that in there. I put a sauna in. Now I don't do the sauna cold plunge, but I do sauna in the morning after my workout, and then the evenings before I start riding, I go get in that thing literally for 3 minutes. I'm down to 51 degrees. I'm trying to get to 40, and I'm telling you what, Tyler, I have to like make myself get in it every day. Like, and it's not like I've been doing it for about 3 months. I'm like, oh, it's going to get easier. It's easier only in the fact that I know it's only going to be 3 minutes. And it's all I can do to make myself get in it. And it's 51.
Yeah,
It's not even 40
I
yet.
know. No, I know. Dude, I don't think it gets easier. I agree. Because it is like your body's natural reaction when your foot first goes in is like, get the heck out of here. Like that's what it's
Now.
like a and yeah, so I agree. I mean, definitely amazing, and I recommend probably everybody do it. But I do it here and there. Like in Thailand, there's actually where we are now. We found a place nearby, so we've been going there every few days. And red light sauna, I do that sometimes. My place in Colombia has a red light. It's a hot sauna, but it also has like red light panels in it. I don't know if it's working, but I do notice a difference after like 30 minutes of red light. I just kind of feel a little happier and upbeat, more awake a little bit. So I don't know if you've ever done red light,
No,
but
so I
it
do
seems
dry, but so what's the temperature at the red light? Because I like the sweating.
yeah. So the sauna at my place there, it has like two modes. So if you do sweating and hot, then the red light is off because I guess the red light can't withstand that or something. But then if you don't do that, then you can just turn on the red light panels and it stays, honestly, you don't really sweat. It kind of feels like a normal temperature. But the red light, it's supposed to help with a bunch of different things. But I don't know what it does, but
Yeah,
I
me
would
neither.
recommend it doing that.
Me and my brother talk about it all the time, and so I put a dry sauna, I built it myself, and I have it under a set of stairs in my barn that goes up to the loft, and I just sit in there by myself. It can get to I've had it as high as 220. I try to keep it
Uh,
around 180, and I sit in there and just sweat for 15 minutes, and I
yeah,
actually feel better. I mean, I get in as soon as I finish working out. I'm already pretty hot. I go right into that, and I tell you, I think it works.
definitely. No, no, sweating it out definitely. And I forget all the science behind it and stuff, but I've heard it probably hundreds of times on like social media. But that, yeah, I think every day, and I don't know when you work out. For me, I'm more of a morning person
Me, I'm
because like
morning.
I've realized, yeah, like if I every time I would plan to work out after I work in the day, sometimes I let myself off the hook. But in the morning, I just never, and the whole rest of the day is dramatically better. So either way, if you work out, sweat in a sauna and do ice bath every morning, I mean, you're gonna be so, I mean, you'll feel good
I can't.
if
Well,
you
so
don't.
what happens? So enjoy it now. But when you get to be my age, your cardiologist tells you don't go in the sauna and go to the cold plunge. He says because it may kill you. So I always do it just before I write at night. Because he's like,
Oh,
yeah, you
okay.
really shouldn't. Now, cardiologists are paid to tell you not to do. But yeah, I don't go from hot sauna to 51 degrees. I always do it in the evening. So what I do is before I go writing, start writing at 7:30 every night. I try to go in at 7 o'clock. And man, but when I come out of that thing, I feel like a rock star. You just like, I don't know about you, but you get to like this euphoric dopamine. I mean, you're just like, whoa, I feel good. Like this is all right, and
Definitely. Yeah, yeah, I agree. And I wonder, just curious, like, is it just because it kind of shocks you if you go from cold to hot and back and
yeah,
forth?
yeah,
And
that's what
it's
they say. Yeah, it's not good for me at my
okay,
age. Yeah. I mean, I'm
gotcha.
60, so I'm going to be 61. And, my family has, they check all the boxes. You got, oh, you've had heart disease in your family. So you just got to be careful. And
For
at this point in my life, it's not like, it's going to, why take the chance at this point?
I agree. That's what I was just gonna say. Like to me, that would be kind of the worst way to get like doing something that you're attempting to make yourself healthier, and that's the thing that kills you. That would just be a shitty way to go.
Yeah.
Like,
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. That pretty much puts pretty good clarity in it, actually, Tyler. that pretty much checks
So,
the
yeah,
box. Yeah.
do one in the morning, do one at night. It's
Yeah, I'm
bad.
sticking with that. Yeah, I'm not gonna go. They'll be like, my wife be like, "Who in the hell was that Tyler guy? My husband's dead because he said, you'll be fine."
Well, let's edit this part out.
Yeah, that would be all. Yeah, yeah, that's crazy. So, so when you're traveling now, are you traveling to do book stuff with people and help them? Or are you just being? Because I guess you can kind of do a lot of this remotely too, right?
Yeah, somewhat. So I wouldn't say I Singapore, oddly enough, there is somebody there we might visit that might become a client. But really I just had always wanted to come to Asia and I had put it off for so many years. Like I've done a lot of traveling, like Africa, Europe, and just kind of a lot of places in those two areas. But Asia, just because the time difference is so extreme, I put it off for so long. So now it is still a work trip. What do I have here? Four of my employees, girlfriend, brother, and a couple friends. It's like eight of us. So we are working, and pretty much my whole team is remote. I do have some people that are in Miami that are that's where kind of the business is, if you will, like the physical business. Um, but yeah, just to say that we didn't like come here necessarily to meet clients that live here, but we are working here for
Yeah.
sure.
So this is actually you actually having a vacation,
Yeah, yeah, and
whatever.
that's for the if the IRS is listening, it's for work.
Well, it is because I mean, when are you working every day? I mean,
For sure.
you
No,
don't
no,
need
and that's what
now.
we literally.
So
Sorry, yeah.
I was never an entrepreneur when I was your age, but back 40 years ago, I could leave work and I didn't get messed with till the next day. Now I never leave work. Like, you're going to get off this call and thank you for doing it at such a weird time for you. And you're going to have 30 emails, probably a voicemail, a couple of text messages. And so you can never get away from it now. Like we live this every day.
It's true. Yeah, the only way I've kind of figured out how to get like mental breaks from it is my phone I actually keep on do not disturb and I keep it there 24/7. Like so it's always so and then what I do, this is so fun. Everything comes back from the 4-hour work week because I think I learned this from them too. Is like what I do then is I check my texts and like WhatsApp, all the apps and everything with messaging feature. I do that like 2 to 3 times a day. and then I just like, kind of like a 30-minute sprint and just reply to everything. And like I don't let emails go through to my phone. And I don't that's helped me a lot because I think that can cause it just adds for me it didn't work when I was getting alerted all the time because my natural response was to address it and then whatever, imagine like I'm sure you do that too when you're writing. Like you have to turn off
You
text and
have to.
stuff because if not,
Yes.
you can't there's no way to write when you're getting distracted every couple minutes. You got to get kind of like in that zone. But yeah, as what you're saying though, I agree in the sense of like no matter what, even at dinner, my brother, he works for me, he'll bring something up like, "Hey, I need your help with this email." And I'm like, "Okay, well, this is I guess a work dinner. Like it's always like that. So you really can't get away from it even if you put your phone on do not disturb. So
So you don't get emails on your phone?
I have the app. I just don't let it like notify me when an email comes in.
So when I
And
pick up
now,
my phone, if I had that, I would not see I have 7 unread emails.
yeah, you would have to like you'd have to open the app to see it. But as
Okay.
far as it like showing up on notifications, there's a thing, I think in the new iPhone, it's called Focus. I have my brother do all this for me because I'm not very techy, but he is. It's kind of the younger
Yeah.
generation. They're really good with everything. But yeah, you can literally make it so everything does not alert you, and then you have to check it. And but what you might want to do, just trying to help you if you were to do this yourself, I let my brother, my girlfriend, mom, and dad, those four people, when their texts and calls come, it still alerts me. So you can like customize it so only certain people can alert you.
Yeah, I have it set up on like because I turn my phone off at night on silent, but I think there's 6 people that if they call, of course my wife's right
Yeah.
there, but 6 people call, my phone's gonna ring
Yep.
no matter
Same.
what.
Yeah.
That way, if there's an emergency or something like that. Because I learned like you, but you've done a much better job. I put my phone on silent because I can't. If I get dinged at night, the next thing you know, you're waking up, you look at it, and then it's 2 hours later.
Yeah.
So
No, definitely. Yeah.
yeah,
I went to the extreme at first. Because I actually didn't know you could customize it. In my defense, I didn't know you could do that. So I had like made it so everybody, like not even girl. And then the first one, you would maybe think it would be brother or mom, but actually probably not. It was the girlfriend. She's over here, and she was like, "When I text you, you need to respond." Because I was like, not. She would text me in the morning. I'd respond to her at like 10 p.m. And I'd be like, "I didn't see it."
yeah.
So either way, it doesn't normally fly with the girlfriends and wives. I'm sure it wouldn't fly
Yeah.
with.
Oh no, no, no. I've got wife. I've got 3 kids, 6 or 3 in-law kids, and then I've got 8 grandchildren. So I've got a lot of people that if something goes south, they got to get in touch with me.
For sure. Yeah, that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Well, I know you got your day is just beginning, so I'll finish off with my final question of the day. Is that so? Do you think you were born, or do you think you were made, Tyler?
Okay, so I'm sure people answer this a lot of different ways. So you can,
There's
and
no
I can
wrong
answer
answer.
the way okay, cool.
Yeah.
Because this is, I hate to be this guy, but I feel like it's a blend of both, and I'll explain why. So I do think, like, as far as what I've become, I think you are born with certain kind of just certain elements or whatever you want to call it that make you different or like make you you, obviously. Like I have a natural kind of gift of gab, they call it, or just like outgoing personality, which I think you are born with. And then as far as being made, I think my environment and like I think about my mom, dad, like just everything around me as a child growing up, it makes sense why I am where I am when I think back on just like different things that happened and that I saw. It just makes sense that I went this path, I guess you could say. So it's a blend of both. Is that a fair answer?
It's a very fair. You'd be surprised. There's a lot of people. I'm more in your camp. I did have my first born only like 100% recently. Made people. So you're clearly more like me. We're kind of gray guys. We don't see everything in black and white. That's why we're good salespeople. That's what we are. We're sales guys. The ones that say made, though, they are very much like, I'm made. And there's not a lot of like, well, I'm kind of think they're like, no, I was made. So it is funny. And these are personality traits. So the one that answered born only, she's only climbed all 7 summits. Okay. And
Wow,
yeah, this woman and run 150-mile races, this lady is a beast. And she was like, I was born. And I'm like, really? And, and it was cool. So yeah, so they're all over the map. You're more like me. It's like, you were born a salesman. Okay. Yeah. I was born a salesman. I mean, you ask my mother, she would tell you this kid at 3 years old was talking to adults. Okay. Yeah. Right. That's not made. Now you do get better, right? You've honed your skills, right? You're getting, you're definitely being made at that point, but you're just making yourself better. And there's things that are going to happen to you in your life that will alter it. But yeah, for sure. So anyway, to make you feel good, you did great. That was really fun.